and they are currently handling portfolio of more than 9,000 crore rupees, and they manage from IPOs to listing the companies, and from equity dilutions to wealth management, all that. So let me introduce you, Kush Gupta.
Thank you, Vikrant. Good evening, guys. First of all, we're not managing 9,000 crores. But thank you, we hopefully will get there.
That's the direction that he has given to you.
So you've given me a lot of ego boost just before starting the presentation.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have had the pleasure of getting to know you guys in past 3-4 months since I've been part of CC, and today I'm going to be talking about my company, and it's called SKG. This was started by me and my brothers in 2005, and we stepped away from traditional businesses of my father's and my grandfather's traditional business to start a stockbroking company. And over a period of time, we've graduated from being a stockbroking company to a full-fledged financial services company. We have 3 verticals. The company is primarily divided. This is the structure of the whole company. We have an NBFC by the name of Madhuri Holdings. Don't judge me on the name. We bought it. Somebody else kept the name. So we're into corporate lending and margin funding. Corporate lending is a very small part of what we don't do it anymore very actively. Margin funding is when somebody wants to invest in stock markets, we provide additional funding to them. I'll leave the middle one right now. The third one is a alpha broking membership with NSE, wherein it's a different sort of a membership. It's not a regular membership. This is where we put our own money and we finance arbitrageurs, we finance option traders, and we run our own prop desk. So this is not client facing, this is something we do for ourselves. And the main bread and butter, or so to speak, the oldest business is the investment and advisory business. It is divided into 2 verticals. The first one is wealth management, wherein we manage portfolios for HNI investors and family offices. The second one is corporate advisory, where we list companies on stock exchange, where we handhold already listed companies on stock exchange, and we make sure that judicial value is provided to their stock price, and there are institutional investors looking at these companies and these great businesses. Over a period of time, we have, as we all know, the importance of having the right people in your company. We're lucky we have a very good team with us, very experienced team with us. On top is Mr. Asim Khan. He has 20-year plus experience in wealth management. He's an ex-Kotak guy. Then we have a qualified chartered accountant, Mr. Vipin Agrawal. He assists us in looking at balance sheets, and then we're listing companies on the stock exchange, so his inputs are extremely valuable there. And then so on and so forth, everybody has a different role. On a side note, I was just discussing with somebody, we also have an NGO which undertakes government welfare projects. That's a separate sort of a side business that we have, and it's being handled, it's based out of Telangana, and it's being handled by Jyoti, who's very dynamic. Talking about the main core business, taking you through some numbers, like I already said, we're an 18-year-old company now, and in 2020 we were awarded as top 10 wealth management consultants by Consultants Review magazine. In terms of private wealth, we're managing 500 crores, approximately 500 crores. These are individual families and their own personal portfolios. I think that Vikrant got the number from 9,000 or something else. The corporate advisory, which is where we advise listed companies on the stock exchange, their combined market cap currently stands at about 9,000 crores. We're very bullish on this. I will be talking in great detail about this and how we got here, and with some case studies. To discuss some of the achievements that we have managed to, some of the milestones that we managed to reach in past 17-18 years. In our corporate advisory business, we've been associated with 16 companies over past 7 years, and these are just some of them. So as you can see, the blue bar is where we entered the company, the stock price where we entered the company, where we came in as principal investors and advisors to them, where we realized that the stock value of the company was not judicially showing the potential growth of the company. And VLS International is an IT services company. They provide visas, and currently the stock price is 320, which we've seen a growth of 400%. The best, I would say, the poster boy for us is another steel company called Rama Steel, which has seen a growth of 900%, and so on and so forth. There have been some failures as well. We've learned over a period of time, and failures have been, as you can see, very catastrophic, completely wiped out. So, but there were reasons behind it. We were associated with a transport company, and they just couldn't cope up with the demonetization change. So that really affected their business, and eventually led to its shutdown. There was a real estate player called Pushpanjali Realms, and they had invested a lot of money in one big project which was supposed to be their, make or break project, but it broke, so they couldn't survive that. But otherwise, very exciting. We just collaborated with two companies now. One is IM Plus Capital, which we started in 2022, and 2021 is Kamdhenu TMT Pipes. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys must have heard about it. So their journey has just started, and we're hoping that that journey will go on and become the next, other companies. We've been covered extensively by business newspapers, the activities that we've done, the value that we've created for clients. So, for example, we got Nomura Securities. It's a very big, prestigious financial institution. We got them to invest in BLS, which was a deal worth 27 crores. Shankar Sharma is a very big investor, very big institutional investor. So we have very close relationships with them. So whenever we're representing a company, we have a very solid ear that will listen to us. So we've cracked a couple of deals with them. And we also, in the advisory part, we also tell companies how to reshape themselves in order to get the maximum value out of the stock market. So one of the examples was when we got associated with Kamdhenu. They had a paint business that was a loss-making business, and their TMT pipe business, Sariya banate hain, and which was the core business, was a very profitable business. So we advised them to demerge, and the minute they demerged, we saw huge investor interest came in, and the stock price rallied by 12%. So this is just one of the quick examples of how what we know will sell in the market, and what promoters who are obviously very busy in doing what they do best, which is running the business, sometimes tend to oversee. So this was just a brief of what we've done, what we've managed to achieve. Now, next, I would to go deeper into how we do things, what we think while we are either managing your personal wealth or your company's wealth. First, I would like to talk about wealth management, which is the first vertical, which is we started much before we got into capital and corporate advisory. So, wealth management is a journey that we came upon. We were traditionally stockbrokers, and how every industry changes, we realized that there was not enough revenue to be generated, honestly, by just providing your license to a client ki aao aap trade karo hamare platform pe. So we got into advisory, and the more we got into it, we realized that investors are, I won't say misinformed, but everybody's perception about investments is very, very different. A lot of times we have a very binary view of how to make investments. So I'll tell you a funny story. I met this uncle of mine. He's a very big cricket fan. So we were sitting over drinks, and we were like, "To uncle, kya kar rahe ho aajkal? Kahan invest kar rahe ho? This, that." So, and he bets on cricket, IPL, YPL, everything full on every day. So he's like, "Yeah, these days I'm investing in I bought unlisted shares of a cricket club, IPL club." So I was very shocked. First of all, I didn't know unlisted shares of IPL clubs are also available for sale.
Chennai
I
Super
said,
Kings.
"अच्छा." So I said, "अच्छा किसका?" He said, "यार Chennai Super Kings." अंकल क्यों खरीद रहे हो? अनलिस्टेड है, आज तक कोई क्लब लिस्ट हुआ है? यूएस में तो हुआ नहीं, लंदन में हुआ नहीं, इंडिया में कहाँ से हो जाएगा? अरे नहीं यार, विल गो अप, I'm telling you, विल गो अप. चलो ठीक है. अच्छा, why are you investing in it? You must have a reason. जैसे यार धोनी बहुत फॉर्म में यार. So I said, okay, chalo. That conversation ended there. I met him after a couple of years. So I said, what happened, uncle? How was your investment? Did you manage to exit? Because list तो हुई नहीं Chennai Super King. He's like, नहीं यार, प्राइस गिरा. I said, क्यों, क्या हुआ? He's like, यार धोनी की फॉर्म बदल गई, तो कैप्टनसी से हटा दिया, शेयर गिर गया. So what we realize over a period of time that everybody looks at investments with a very sort of singular point of view. A lot of us just wake up one day and think, yeah, I have money in my bank. Let me call a friend, who's doing it. Let me call my banker. Let me call my advisor that day. They don't make it as a habit. But whereas if you look anywhere, almost anywhere, all the big guys who've created exponential wealth, they have only created by either consistently buying equity in good businesses, or they manage to sell their own equity in their own existing business. And that is where exponential wealth was created. If you look at Warren Buffett, he invested in Coke, he invested in Apple, he invested in American Express, he invested in Heinz Kraft. If you hear names like Chunjunwala, these guys just don't wake up one day and say, listen, let me try and do investments too. There's a lot of hit and trials, there's a lot of, they are in the ecosystem of investments. And what we provide to our clients is to make sure that they are in that ecosystem. Where Chennai Super Kings could have been a very good investment. I'm not saying it would have been a completely bad investment. But what we try and do is to make sure that our clients are in the playing field all the time. It's not that they just get up and one day and start investing. They can start small. You can start small, you can start as per your appetite. But the idea is to stay in the game. The idea is to know what are great business. The idea is to be able to get the ability to understand a good business. Only then you will be able to invest in it. And just like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you do it, you'll fall one day, you'll wake up, you'll lose money, you'll make money, but then you'll understand better. Why these guys have become so good now is because they have been continuously doing it. Peter Thiel invested, I think, $500,000 in Facebook in 2004, which is not a very big amount of money. I think in 2004 it was probably like 2 crores or 1.75 crores. And he exited at $1 billion when he exited. But it's not that one day he woke up and said, yeah, let me go find my Facebook. Before that he invested in PayPal, which was again a very big hit. Before that he invested in NASPAR, which was again a very big hit. So what we do at SKG is we bring our clients into that ecosystem. It could be real estate, it could be insurance, it could be private equity, it could be equities, it could be MLDs, it could be a plethora of products. But when we get associated with a client, we make sure the clock is ticking, and it's always ticking. That part of their life, the investment cycle part of their life, just doesn't wake up in January and then shuts down, and then wakes up in June and then shuts down. So that is what we do as a daily process. And just like any consultant, any advisor that you go to, everybody has a thesis, everybody has a vision. Like I attended Kaustubh's presentation at CC1, and I realized that his vision was very clear. He would put quality material in his real estate development, right? There are low-cost housing people who don't put quality material, and they're also doing just fine. So what our thesis is that we look at the 3 most indisputable factors in anybody's life. We find that we look at 3 most indisputable factors. One is age. You're never going to stop aging, obviously. Second is money. You always need money. And third most important factor is time. Imagine when you wake up and how many things you do that you have to do, and how many things you do because you want to do. And you'll realize that there are more things in life that you have to do, and there are less things in life that you want to do. So our agenda is to create an investment vehicle for you, so you get the biggest luxury, which is time. So then there is a machinery working for you, which is making money for you. So you don't have to get up one day and start running कि यार मेरे को आज यहाँ जाना है, यहाँ ऑर्डर नहीं पहुँचा, आज बिलासपुर चौक जाना है, ये करना है. There is a parallel machinery running for you that will take you from here and take you all the way over there. And it's not a small process. It's not a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year process. When we get attached to a client, we think of them in years, decades maybe. What will their portfolio look like after 10 years? Can I provide him a successful retirement after 10 years? Can I make sure that he is doing exactly what he wants to do? It could be playing golf. It could be, again, investing money in a new business. I'm not saying sit at home and let me just send you paychecks. No. But the idea is that you should move away from all the redundant things that you're doing in life. Because once you get the financial security, you will find the confidence in time to move away from it. So that is the thesis that we work with. That is the aim that we have. That is the vision that we create when we meet clients or when we sit with clients and we understand what their lifestyle is, we understand what their risk appetite is. And moving on, how we do it is, again, if I go back to the first example that I took, we don't do it in an independent way that you get up and you start just investing. What we always advocate is that everybody should think of investments as a little mini business in itself. It's not something that you're doing today and you're not doing today. So what we create is we try and create family office for all our clients. And family office may sound like a very big name, very big sort of a name word like family office, but it doesn't have to be 100 crore family office. You can always start with 1, you can always start with 2, you can always start with 10. But the idea to create a family office is to put a vision on paper. So when we meet clients, our first 2, 3, 5 meetings, we don't talk about investments. We don't talk about where to put money. That is the last thing. The product choice is always the last thing. That is probably even done on the phone sometimes. That's not even discussed probably. What is discussed is, so I'll give you an example. One of our clients, he's a chief editor of a newspaper. His name is Shashi Shekhar. He's a politically exposed person, and he writes for Hindustan, HT Mint and the Hindustan Hindi newspaper. So I met him and he was drawing a salary of about, I think, 3 crores a year, very comfortable, and he had a portfolio of about 15 odd crores. So first few meetings we tried to understand what he actually wants to do. The first thing he wanted to do was to keep his son away from his investments, to make sure that his son doesn't know how much money he has. And so we worked on that. We'll keep it separate. We'll put a different vehicle on it and everything. And even after something happens to you, we'll make sure that it gets passed on to your son in a judicial manner. Then the second thing he wanted was, he said, "यार मेरे को ना महीने का 1% चाहिए बस. मेरे को इससे ज़्यादा चाहिए ही. मैं अपना खुश हूँ बहुत ज़्यादा. मैं 15 लाख रुपए मेरी साइड इनकम है, मेरी सैलरी 3 करोड़ रुपए, इससे ज़्यादा मैं खर्च ही नहीं कर सकता इससे ज़्यादा." So then we worked on it. We made sure that he gets his 1% a month. Whether COVID happens, whether global meltdown happens, because his ask is not amazing. His ask is not like climbing a mountain or something. So we decided, okay, I'm confident I can give you 1%. As long as that helps you sleep at night, is perfectly fine. So we did that, and it took us 2 years to consistently provide him returns. And then over a period of time, he reached 20 CR, and we started getting this thing. So then one day he sat and said, okay, this is my portfolio. That is there for me. I want to create a new portfolio now, in which I want to include my son in it. And that portfolio, we can have a very risky portfolio. You can invest in startups, you can invest in Bitcoin, you can invest in. So then now we are working with him on the second portfolio, which is his, holiday money or whatever he wants to call it, because he's already secured his present and as well as future. So what we do is we create these strategies, we create these structure. I always tell my clients that have an investment committee. Again, it's a very big word, but it doesn't have to be a committee. When you say committee, you think like 5 people on it or 7 people. No, it can just be you, it can be your spouse. If you want to include your children, it can be that, and your wealth advisor. But the idea is to sit down and understand what is acceptable to us, what risk is acceptable to us, how far are we willing to go to make money. And each one of you obviously have big businesses, you're handling large numbers. What amounts can you take out of your business that will not hurt your business? Can you take out 1 crore? Can you take out 10 lakhs? Can you take out 5 crores? And that comfortable amount should be put in a completely different box and be dealt with it as if it is a separate. And that grows and eventually becomes a separate money-making gig. And over a period of time, you will realize that you don't need to work to earn at least that much money anyway. It's happening by itself. It's happening for itself. So we create a structure, we create these structures, and apart from that, there are a lot of ancillary services that we provide. One of the major ones being succession planning, which is a very big issue these days, especially in joint businesses, retirement planning. A lot of our clients, they want to send their kids abroad, so we do LRS, which is now obviously taken a very different shape, but they do that. So it is more of planning and strategy and less of ab ye khareed lo, wo khareed lo, ab ye kar lo, wo kar lo. And let me tell you, we're a very boring investment advisory company. Okay, I tell my guy, if you want entertainment, go watch Netflix. Okay, stock market is not the place for you to be in, because it's serious money and it's harder. So this is the vision that we start with, and this is how we create structures, and this is the wealth management part that we do. In 500 crores we have about 30 odd clients, so we're a very boutique wealth management company. Our focus is to become CFOs to our clients, so not just in their area of investments, but it could be personal matters, it could be anything to do with financial matters. We would like it if client gets up in the middle of the night and calls us, and we're absolutely happy doing that. So this was the first vertical of our business. The second one is capital and corporate advisory. This started in 2015. So in 2015, SEBI came up with rules they formed a small and medium enterprises exchange, SME exchange, wherein they made it easy for companies to get listed on the stock exchange. And you didn't have to show a lot of profitability. If the books were right, you can just list your companies within 3 months, no hassles. So we started with a merchant banking license, and we listed in a span of 18 months or 2 years or so, we listed about 14 companies on the stock exchange. And while we were doing that, when we were listing these companies on the stock exchange, we realized a lot of times the promoters have a very narrow vision from all of this. So if somebody has come up with an IPO of 30 crores, valued his company at 100, 120 crores, come up with an IPO of 30 crores, he takes that 30 crores and he goes home. And he immediately starts, next day he will have a meeting with the accounts team and say, listen, we've got 30 crores capital, let's see how to expand. And he's completely forgotten about his stock. He or she does not have the vision that 120 crores worth of your company tomorrow can become 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. And there are plenty of examples that will completely shock you. You must have seen Astral Pipes ad aata hai, Salman Khan hai brand ambassador. That company started with its listing where the total value of the company was 150 crores. Today that company is valued at 38,000 crores. These are Indian companies that a lot of people have never even heard about. APL Apollo, again a pipe company, started at about 1,000 crores. Today it's 33,000 crores. It's immense value that has been created. Because some of these promoters realize that if we're earning 1 rupee out there in the world, there is somebody who's willing to give me 20 bucks. So what we do is essentially take these companies, businesses that we believe in, that we become principal investors in, where we see a company can exponentially grow. And what our job is very plain and simple. We want to make sure that your market cap reflects the true correct value of your business, of your current business and your future business. That's it. We want that if you guys have a good business, a credible business, that then your stock price should scream, not just say, should scream that you have a good business. And it should be overvalued. Why not? Always be overvalued. Because if you're overvalued, you keep getting overvalued, then you're always getting validated. And there are plenty of guys who are willing to put money. Why not? Because you will keep growing and you'll always find investors. And that is something that was initially, when we would pitch to a few promoters, they would be like, nahi yaar, aise kaise ho jayega yaar? Kya 100 crore rupees, 1,000 crore kaise ban jayenge? But when they start doing it, when the cycle starts moving, when the machinery starts rolling, then these things are possible. So to expand this, I'll take a case study of Rama Steel. So this was a company, it's a very old company, 50-year-old company, multi-generational company that had 3 manufacturing units. And steel is no great shakes business, by the way. Steel is a very simple business. It is a business of conversion, essentially. एक steel plate आती है, it goes into a machine and it rolls and becomes a pipe. That's it. There is no there's not a lot of brains involved in it and everything. It's a very low margin business. So the question is, how do you show growth in a steel company? There's no technological, invention in it and everything. So again, the promoter came up with the IPO, took his money, went home, and then we realized that they had an excellent distribution supply chain. Their supply chain and distribution was very, very good as opposed to other steel companies. So we started looking deep diving into it, and the result then, once we started getting in, we started getting investors in, the company got money and it expanded. And over a period of time, the market cap that started from 90 crores is now close to 1500 crores. The revenue has tripled, net profit has tripled. And the biggest change that we were able to make was that the number of shareholders of the company, there were only 4,000 in 2018. Now, if you're a listed company on the stock exchange and there are only 4,000 shareholders, that means that if somebody is interested in buying stock of your company, by the time he picks up a block of by the time he invests just 10 lakh rupees, your share price will shoot up. It'll probably go up by 5%. And what's worse, when somebody wants to sell, it'll just keep plummeting down. So the first thing we did was to make sure that the company gets breadth. And now today it has about 47,000 shareholders. They peaked at about 52,000 and now they've come down to 47,000. So what happens now is we've given them a cushion. In a very simple terms, it's like giving shockers to a car. Now if selling pressure comes, COVID bhi ho gaya uske baad, Adani bhi aa gaya, Adani ab ja raha hai, but the company became resilient. The stock price became resilient. So the promoter was no longer worried about कि यार अब मंदी आ रही है तो शेयर बिकना शुरू हो जाएगा, मेरे तो 100 crore रुपए खत्म हो जाएंगे market cap पे and everything. So this is the kind of value that we were able to create. Back then there were no institutional investors in the company, and now approximately 1.5% is owned by mutual funds and about 4.5% is owned by FI, foreign institutions. So this was a very big validation for us. And every time I give this kind of an example, everybody says, a lot of people say, these are pump and dump stories. And it's not, it happens, you must be reading it. Recently, Arshad Barsi, I don't know how many of you read, was thrown to jail.
Yeah.
Because he was part of a company that stock price went up from 6 to 25 and then now came down, and these guys are on social media platforms and stuff like that. So these things do happen. It's not like they don't happen. So, but if you understand how it works, how a stock price's journey moves, you will realize that these pump and dump stories are easy to do if you're looking at a 3-month horizon. Nearly impossible to do if you're looking at a 1-year horizon to sustain. And if there is an institution that has invested money in you, that means you are validated beyond any sort of a collusion or whatever you're trying to do. So we make sure that whichever company we are being associated with, it does not have a 5 month, 6 month, 7 month, it has a 5-year plan. And through that plan, if you take Rama Steels again, this example, in March 21, the stock price was about $50 and we were trying to shake things up. We expanded their Africa business. It's one of the very few companies that has managed to go out to Africa, set up a plant, and in Africa they get a margin of about 7 to 8%, whereas in India you get a margin of about 3% steel. So that provided a lot of cash flow to the company, which went up. And so it was not a small journey. In 2021, when the stock price hit 225, we managed to get Motilal Oswal to look at it. And once they were convinced, they covered it in the institutional coverage. And as soon as you get this, then you get a completely different jump. Within 3 months, we had mutual fund guys who were eyeing in it. And And let me tell you, if you have a good company, there is a genuine shortage of places to invest for investors. आप अभी कभी अपनी म्यूचुअल फंड स्टेटमेंट खोल के देखना और उसमें टॉप होल्डिंग्स देखना. हर म्यूचुअल फंड में HDFC, रिलायंस, टाटा, सन फार्मा, ये 10 कंपनी आपको हर जगह मिलेंगी. Because when we speak to the fund managers, they're like, we have excess money. There are funds that have stopped inflows because they cannot handle the kind of money that is coming in from Indian investors, and that will only grow. Which means there is a pool of money lying around which is looking to find its way to you. Provided if you have a good advisor and you have a good business that can be sold. And once you do that, you can see that the trajectory just goes up. In 2022, we got the first FII, which was an Asian 16th Street Asian Gems Fund to invest, which was again a very big validation. And as and when the company grew, it's they gave a highest quarterly PAT in March 22. In December 22, I missed that stat. They had the highest revenues ever, and they declared a 4:1 bonus, and the shareholders reached at 50,000 level. So this is how a journey looks like. And what we do, what our role is the examples that I gave you, that we do strategic tie-ups for companies like the Kamdhenu one that I told you. For Rama, we realized that one of their very big distributors was willing to sell their company in return of an all equity deal. So we brokered that deal, and the distributor got Rama Steel shares, and they got the top line of that distributor. So immediately the revenues went up from by 200 crore, 300 crores immediately. So that could provide a good value, to the stock. So this is what the summary is, and over a period of time, there are very good businesses around us that we don't realize have the potential to become big, and that is what we are looking to do. And the road ahead is that all these companies that I was talking about, the DLS and Rama and all, till now we were advising it to our client network in a very informal way. We would tell them, listen, you can buy this. So we want to corporatize it, so we're launching our own fund, wherein we will pool in the money and then invest in these companies. That will give us a better leverage, in making long deals. And we want to expand our equity first desk, which is the arbitrage desk, which my brother Love looks after. So we are setting up a trading floor of about 50 traders that will sit on it. We provide them margin funding, and they would trade on the stock exchange. And we are also, again, obviously looking to expand in our capital and corporate advisory business. The IR function is where we reach out to fund managers and we ask them to look at the companies that we are representing. So this is the road, ahead of us. And during this journey, only about a week ago I was sitting and I was thinking, okay, so we've made decent amount of money for ourselves, we made decent amount of money for our clients, but there is this one stat that I stumbled upon, which I feel the biggest pride in. I think we've managed to move the needle a little bit, is that since 2017, amongst the companies that we were involved with, approximately 5 lakh shareholders ended up making a profit of 2,500 crores in past 5 years. So the reach is far. It's not just that we've created wealth for ourselves or for 50 clients that we are associated with. There are lots of shareholders that have benefited out of it, and obviously the promoters, they've also made obviously substantial amount of profit, which is not covered in this. But we managed to give a lot of shareholder wealth. So that is something we're extremely proud of, and with good support, we want to keep increasing this number over a period of time. And that's it. I think I'll leave you guys with a small thing that we follow a lot of people, we follow a lot of big businessmen, entrepreneurs, and I think all of them, they start with a vision, and once they have the commitment and they believe in the potential, whether it is their own companies or whether it is the companies that they are investing in, the potential is endless. Thank you guys. Thank you. Feel free to ask any questions.
of them.
Yeah. Akshay.
You spoke about a couple of success stories, Rama Steel being one of them, and actually I also invested in Rama Steel and it makes amazing gains. So how do you exactly approach a company, or does the company approach you?
So, how do we approach? So, see, mainly it is when we get associated with the company, the first and the foremost important thing is that our vision and the promoter's vision should be very, entwined. We should, because we're going to see ups and downs. There will be times when the stock will take a beating probably, the promoter may not like it. There will be times that we would be expecting better results from the company and the company won't. So, it's very rare that we approach a company, because unless we don't know the in and outs of the promoters, in fact, some of the failure stories were because we didn't know the promoters, really well. So more often than not, it is we know somebody has a listed company, we know their businesses. So either we already have to know the guy from the past, and then it could be that they come to us. Also, we in certain cases we're looking at specific industries. So then we start hunting. So for example, the new company that we are tying up with is a semiconductor manufacturing company, and I was discussing it with my uncle. So in that case, we heard that there is a very big semiconductor manufacturing company based out of Chennai. So then we've gone up to them and we've presented ourselves to them. So it works both ways, but in most cases, it is from word of mouth that works. Yeah.
And is there so for a company that is exploring listing, so you will also come in and help someone that is unlisted and help them get listed?
Yeah, definitely.
So is there a target size that this is the stage at which a company should start exploring this, or you have to be sure that you want to list and that's when you come in?
So I think we analyze businesses. So for example, so first of all, size should definitely be there, because initially when we started doing IPOs, we were doing smaller IPOs like 35 crores to 50 crores or something. Now when we're listing companies on the stock exchange, we're looking at least probably a company valuation of about 500 crores, which would mean that we were to raise 25% of it, which would be about 100 odd crores. We are happy to work with a promoter that may not list today, may list after 1 year, may list after 2 years, and sometimes it does take that long, because traditionally run companies don't have the structure. They're still withdrawing crazy salaries. We met a guy who has a very good auto ancillary business, and their top line was, I think, about 500 crores, and their director's salary was 3% of the total revenue. So they were taking out so much money from the company. ऐसे मैं किसी के सामने जाऊँगा बोलूँगा यार डायरेक्टर 15 करोड़ रुपए ले जाता है साल का, तो फिर कैसे चलेगा? So it takes time for us to align these companies and make them fit, so to speak. It's like if you're running a marathon, you won't just start running. You'll probably practice it. So that is what we do in the start, and then we take it forward. Yeah.
So first of all, Vikrant, wonderful presentation and great job.
Kush.
Vikrant.
That was it.
Sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Kush,
Go
right?
ahead.
I'm so sorry, Kush. So wonderful, Kush, and great job. Now I have one doubt. You said when there is a good company, there's always capital searching for good companies, right?
Yeah.
Now, what do you mean by good company, and what changes have you done to Rama Steel? Because steel manufacturing is not, like you said, it's not a rocket science.
Yeah.
It's not a high-tech business.
Correct.
So, what changes have you brought to the company that took it from a regular steel making company to a good company that could attract capital from this?
Very good question. So specifically with Rama Steel, after an insane jump in market value, their PE is still 50.
Which is highly overvalued.
Which is highly overvalued, but I would say if you think of the valuation that is this jump that it has seen, the PE obviously should have been, if you do an apple to apple comparison,
3x
it's a 3x. Yeah. So there were certain, at $90 it was highly undervalued. So first coverage was sort of bringing it to the par. Second biggest turnaround for Rama Steel was that we realized that their Africa business, which was doing really well, was in a subsidiary which was not attached to the main holding company. So the first thing that we did was to say that, listen, there is a decent top line that is lying in Africa that is not doing anything. Obviously, the reason why they had done it is because a lot of their capital was coming from Dubai, So, which was convenient. Like I said, some structural changes have to be made. So we spent about 6 months in making those structural changes, and the minute we made that company 100% subsidiary of the main company, then immediately the numbers that came in, the top line improved, the profit improved considerably. Steel, which is traditionally a 3% or a 3.5% business, thanks to their Africa business, for them became a 5% business. And when you're shifting from 3 to 5, 5 may not sound a very big number, but from 3 to 5, it's a decent jump. So that was one of the changes that we did. Second was the first money that came into the company, which came from us and our HNI investors, we told them to open up two additional manufacturing units. So it took time for that to happen, but the plans had started obviously materializing. They did not have a presence in Bombay, so we opened up a manufacturing unit. They opened up a manufacturing unit in Bombay. That provided a lot of bread to the company. We also did a deal with them. So Modi government came up with a scheme. I don't know how many of you, Har Ghar Nal Jal scheme, right? Jal Yojana. So these are the kind of arbit things that we collect, and then we will. So Har Ghar Nal Yojana was that every house should get water. Now obviously you need piping to send the water. So we tied up with a company in Rajasthan. They were manufacturing motor pumps. They push water. So we said, okay, we'll tie up with you in an equity deal, and you take Rama stock. So one good thing that we are doing on a consistent level is we are using the stock as cash to do these tie-ups. So the promoter is not shying away कि यार इसको तो मेरे को 20 करोड़ रुपए देना पड़ेगा. नहीं, आपको 20 करोड़ रुपए नहीं देना. We'll make sure that if you keep registering numbers, stock value अपने आप ही बढ़ जाएगी. So let's do an all stock deal. So we did an all stock deal with that company, a very big player in Rajasthan, and they had managed to get this government contract of Har Ghar Nal Jal. And then they started, their order book was only to Ram. So it's things like these. So for BLS International, again a very exponentially good company, very good growth. They are into visa services. So every time you want to go abroad, you go to VFS, right? So BLS is also a company that provides visa services. It's only the third company in the world that does what it does. The only Indian company that does what it does. And they, so visa services are like airline slots. So for example, if somebody in Turkey wants to apply for a visa to go to Indonesia, think of that as one route, and one company will get that route. Then another company will get a route from Turkey to India. So VFS operates in 66 countries, and what we did for them is we realized once we got into it, so we started actively working on their BD. How do we give them good business? So we had a diplomat who was working out of Indonesia, who was representing the Turkish consulate in Indonesia. So we got them a contract between Turkey and Indonesia. So that added, top line to them. They bought a company, they bought a company in all cash deal for about, I think, 110 crores. They bought a company, I'm forgetting the name, which starts with Z. That company does last mile connectivity for SBI. Whenever SBI wants to open up an account, provide cards and stuff like that. So they acquired that company in a 110 crore all cash deal, and they needed cash at that time. So we came up with a preference share, and we made sure investors looked at it and subscribed. So then and there they could negotiate a better deal and close that company, and that company had a huge profit margin and added to their top line. So this is how.
Any structural or governance related changes that you've brought into the company? Because generally promoter driven companies, traditionally run companies, we don't have outside advisors or board, right?
Yeah.
But typically one of the prerequisites for companies going IPO is they look at the governance.
Yeah.
Who are your advisors or board? What kind of changes have you brought into that?
So when it
Mandeep
comes
Kosh, if we can take this question, maybe we can have 1 or 2 questions
Sure.
from the board, and
Sure.
you can have a discussion afterwards.
I'll pick you up.
I think we are already over time.
Shyam bhai.
Kamdhenu ke liye, what are you doing for Kamdhenu? Can you?
So Kamdhenu is, they have 85 factories across India, and it's a there are 3-4 brothers and Agrawal family. And so what we did for them is when we saw the business model it's a great business model. They only own 1 factory, and all the 84 factories are actually outsourced. So it's a great business model, and we were just wondering why it's not doing so well. And so we invested initially in that company. And so when we invest, obviously the promoter also has a fiduciary responsibility, sort of this thing to seek our opinion. And the first thing we did was to demerge the paints business. So, and now the paints business is another listed company in itself. which is a loss-making company right now, but we plan to this thing. So we're doing investor relations for them. We're getting companies to look at it. Shankar Sharma is also invested in Kamdenu now.
Naman Jain.
No. Yeah.
One last question.
On behalf of everyone, what's the minimum ticket size for the wealth management?
So wealth management, see, we look at we would like a client that who has investable funds up to 5 crores. That is our sweet spot, and we know that it's not going to start on day one. The biggest client I have, we are managing 70 crores for him, only in financial, not in real estate, and that client started with a check of 25 lakhs. So it's a when we know that there is potential to go bigger, then we're happy to start small, but our sweet spot would be to manage at least 5 crores.
How are your services different, in pertaining to wealth management?
Mm-hmm.
How is it different from the services which are being provided by the bankers?
Okay, so
Because they are also
good question. I think the first is product offering. Not trying to trash the RMs that come to you. I think we've all experienced them extensively. But first and foremost will be the product offering. I feel they are very constrained as to what they have to sell that month. It's actually flavor of the month today in their meetings. And second biggest thing is when I give you the example of how we become CFOs. So very quick story. I got a phone call at 12 o'clock in the night from one of my clients. He said, "Yaar, my daughter is dating somebody, and I think that guy is after my money. So we should do something about it." So, 12 baje aapko matlab ye kya? Like, no, we went for dinner and I just cannot, look him in the eye. So let's, come in the morning and we'll do something about it. So we created a trust structure for them. The daughter was young and we made sure that, but it's a real story. This is what happens. This is what we do. This is the problem that we are solving. We're not, we're not manufacturing laptop or setting up industries, So this is how we, manage to provide more value.
Push, I'll just quiz in one question.
Sure.
I want to understand that what is the strategy and when do you decide exit a stock? How do you find that this is the time the stock is more valuable now? And
So
now we should exit. So what's the strategy?
So when we do direct equity investments, we only do for the companies that we are associated with. We don't do otherwise. And for our companies, you will be surprised. We haven't exited any single company unless it's gone bust, which didn't leave us with an option, because it's a very long story. We want to create. Rama's overvalued. I'm happy. The stock is at 820. I think it'll come down. It will definitely come down to $700. But that doesn't mean that I've exited it. So for me, it'll be a journey till 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. So unless there is a very tectonic shift in the industry in which the company is in. So for example, we're not very fond of real estate companies. So we'll probably enter and probably one day exit developers, not the big developers. The big developers.
Let's take it
So
offline
it depends
now.
upon the industry, depends upon where the company is in its life cycle. Yeah. Arpit.
Yeah, how deeply do you get involved in the strategic decision making to understand you?
So we don't assume that we know how to run your business better than you do. Obviously we don't, but we know what will move the needle on the screen. We know what investors would love. We know. So our inputs are in the sense. So we'll tell you. For example, like when we suggested IM Plus Capital, it's a new company that's coming up. So they acquired a company from NCLT which is called Federal Lloyd. Lloyd ACs आते हैं. तो उन्होंने एक company acquire करी Federal Lloyd, and that company had a loss of 800 crores when they acquired it from NCLT. Now 800 crores of loss means that for 8 years I have 800 crores worth of profit to be made on which I am not going to pay taxes. So they had these two different companies. They had IM Plus Capital and they had Federal Lloyd. So Federal Lloyd to me is a gold mine. Okay. So we merged the company. So our suggestion was to do this. I'm not going to tell him how to do his business, but I am telling him that listen, if you merge it, I am looking at 250 crores worth of profit, which is free for you, which for your competitor he'll have to pay that as taxes, right? So it's a cash flow that is free for you.
Last
So,
question.
yeah.
how do you make money? I mean, what's your revenue model like?
Okay.
Wealth management and more.
Yeah. So wealth management is we don't charge our clients. Whatever the investment that we are bringing on board, we are getting remunerated by the principal. So, for example, if it's a fund, then that is remunerating us. That is very straightforward, simple. We tried QA clients से check आ जाए, but वो आता नहीं है आसानी से. Even though it doesn't matter how much money you make for them. So, and on the capital advisory side, we started with IPO listing, so we would make our fees on the listing part. But then now we're not doing that. We outsource it. It's a paper pushing job. For us, we are principal investors in the company. So the first round, we won't enter a company without putting our own money into it. Before going to an HNI like Mayank and saying, "Bhai, paise dal do isme." So we would put our own money. So where we make money is obviously when the stock goes up, and so we are connected with the company just as the
charging us.
Huh?
You're not charging.
No. For CC, everything is free.
So on that note, do we all get a tip so that we can buy it on Monday inside?
So you can BLS International. I feel it's an 6,500 crore market cap company. It is an excellent business model. There is a company, a French company called TLC, which is the third company. I said three companies. So there's VFS, there's BLS, there's TLC. Amazing business, very very high entry barrier. If I were to give somebody 6,000 crores, आप तो भी वो business नहीं खड़ा कर सकते. It's licensing with 66 governments in the world. That does not come easy, and that does not come cheap. So I would.
For any other tip, please do one-to-one with questions. You will have less questions to ask.